Number of attacks on endangered birds of prey.
I'm here at Duncan Park, the National Centre for Birds of Prey, and the Managing Director, Charlie Heap, is with me. Lovely to meet you, Charlie. So how many species do you have at the centre at the moment?
We have between 45 and 50 species here at any one time, but it's a constantly evolving thing as we work with different species.
And one of those birds is hopefully going to land on my fist, hence why I'm wearing this glove.
That's right. This is Palomar. Palomar's 2 this year. He's a male harrisawk, largely a South American species, but a wonderful species to work with and to train for our flying demonstrations.
I mean, for the visitors that come here, it would be so impressive to see them fly. But the centre's about much more than just that, isn't it? Because you're heavily involved in conservation and breeding projects. Why is that so important?
The real reason why we're here is for conservation and the captive breeding of these wonderful birds. Most species are doing okay in the wild in the UK at the moment. There are still a couple of species who are suffering rather a lot. However, generally speaking, in a worldwide view, they're not doing so well. The picture is not particularly rosy.
So that's why you're continuing the work that you do?
Yes.
And tell me about the bird that you've got here.
This is Woodstock. Woodstock's just about exactly a year old. He's a male peregrine falcon, so this is a British species. He's wearing a hood just to keep him nice and calm.
I've seen that before, so what is the main reason why you put the hoods on?
It's literally just a management tool. Birds of prey are such visual species that if they can't see, and it doesn't matter if they can't see because they have a hood on or just because it's night time, they tend to sit still and calm. It's a stress-reducing tool.
And what kind of things would this type of bird hunt?
Peregrine falcons are almost exclusively bird catchers. They catch other birds and they catch them in the air.
Now, going back to the breeding programme that you're doing, tell me about the eggs that you've got in incubation at the moment.
It's an exciting time of year here at the centre. This is the breeding season and we're well underway. The steppe eagles and the grey-buzzard eagles laid yesterday.
Yesterday?
Yesterday. The griffon vultures have laid their second egg at the weekend, and we have their first egg running in an incubator. We have 2 fertile Steller sea eagle eggs in an incubator too at the moment.
So what's the next stage once they hatch?
With the griffon vultures, we will hopefully hatch their egg. We will raise it for about a week and then it will go back with mum and dad.
Wow. And you're really passionate, Charlie, aren't you, about the job that you do?
This is my life, basically. This is what I do and this is what we're here for.
Well, you know what, look, Charlie, it's lovely to chat to you. I'm going to catch up with you again shortly. But first, while centres like this protect these beautiful creatures, there are many that are now under threat in their natural habitat. And I've been finding out what the police in North Yorkshire are doing to fight back. Birds of prey, also known as raptors, can be found right here in the Yorkshire Dales, much to the delight of birdwatchers and conservation experts. But sadly, not everyone shares a respect for these magnificent creatures. There were around 90 cases of raptor persecution across the UK in 2018 alone. Here in North Yorkshire, the police are fighting back against these criminals. Inspector Matt Hagen is head of the Rural Task Force.
Statistically, North Yorkshire is the raptor persecution hotspot of the whole of the country. And where we are at the moment in Nidderdale is a particular hotspot. We find that they are either shot, poisoned or trapped.
This is just one of the methods being used to kill birds. A pole trap, something that was banned over 100 years ago.
We have had pole traps like this reported to the police within the last year. So how it works is that if a bird comes along and lands on the metal plate, the trap activates. And I'll try and demonstrate that for you now with this ruler.
The ruler is instantly shattered, so Matt shows us again, this time using a metal rod.
As you can see, there's not much chance of a bird's leg surviving if it landed in this trap and it went off.
Birds that are injured in traps are sometimes taken to rescue and rehabilitation centres, like this one in Warrington. But as staff here know, dealing with them can often be a heartbreaking experience.
If a bird was trapped in a pole trap, it's normally caught it by the legs, which usually means that the legs have been broken. It's hard to repair brakes on a bird that needs its legs to land and to take off. And also to catch its food, it's highly unlikely that a bird would survive.
And it's not just traps that pose a risk to these birds. This man was caught shooting and killing 2 short-eared owls. Police found both their bodies hidden on moorland in the Yorkshire Dales. He pleaded guilty and had to pay a £1,000 fine. But some bird of prey killings can be harder to spot. This footage shows what North Yorkshire police officers found when they were tipped off by a group of walkers. The decomposed remains of a red kite, which they suspect was poisoned. Where poisoning is suspected, birds are often sent to a lab like this one near York for further investigation.
There's no such thing as a typical week. We can go for a week without getting any birds in, or I think our worst was about 15 cases. The species we see most is red kites. And unfortunately, red kites, because of their feeding habits in terms of scavenging for dead animals, they're very vulnerable to finding poison baits.
But poisons can be difficult to detect, so sophisticated technology is called for.
Here we've got a range of samples of buzzard and some suspected bait samples that have come in. We get stomach content in from the animals that might have been poisoned because the chemicals can be very toxic. So the last meal that the animal will have eaten is likely to be where the pesticide is going to be.
The prepared samples are then put into this machine, called a mass spectrometer.
This effectively separates the molecules in a sample to determine the chemical that's involved.
This time, the poison is identified as bendiocarb, a lethal insecticide. Confirming this can help police prove a killing was deliberate and potentially enable them to press criminal charges. Police in North Yorkshire continue the fight to protect these beautiful creatures. But they believe that to truly stop these barbaric crimes, everyone must play their part.
Killing of any wild bird in this country is illegal. People out there in the community know who is committing these offences, and we just need that information. We need them to tell us to make raptor persecution unacceptable.
Really shocking stuff there. I'm joined again by Charlie Heap, who runs the Bird of Prey Centre here at Duncan Park. Who's this?
This is Zonda, just having her breakfast.
She's hungry.
She is starving. She is a 6-year-old female grey buzzard eagle, a South American species, but she's a Yorkshire grey buzzard eagle. She was bred right here.
Wow, she's lovely looking.
She's stunning. She's just come out of her winter aviary, where she's molted and changed her feathers and just gone into her full adult plumage, ready to start this summer's flying demonstrations.
And tell me about this one here. This is the white-tailed sea eagle, massive bird.
That's correct. They're the largest British bird of prey. The white-tailed sea eagle is native not only to the UK, but large parts of Europe and Asia, and they're a conservation success story. In less enlightened times, they were persecuted out of existence in this country, but at the end of last century, reintroduction programmes were started in Scotland and more recently in the Isle of Wight, and they are slowly becoming a more common sight.
Now, Charlie, in the film there, we saw some really nasty images of birds caught in traps, birds being poisoned. Do you get many raptors coming to the centre that have been injured?
We get an unfortunate number handed in here. Now, some have come to grief with entirely natural issues. We get a number of road accident victims, but we do get a concerning number of birds who have been suffered direct persecution.
And this is the thing, isn't it? Because obviously killing a protected species is illegal and the police are there ready to prosecute people that they catch. But what I can't get my head around is the motive motive behind these crimes? Why are people doing it?
There seems to be a number of different motives. They suffer direct persecution where it's perceived that they come into conflict with both shooting interests and occasional livestock farming interests. And I think it's important to make sure we don't tar everybody with the same brush here. Not all gamekeepers are involved in the illegal persecution of birds of prey. No, certainly not all farmers are. There is, however, a rogue element that is of concern.
So on a positive note, what can we be doing to change this? How can we help?
I think raising awareness is a very important thing. However, most importantly is if you find yourself a witness to a rural crime, is to make sure that you report it. There is a lack of witnesses to crimes in the countryside. You're an important person if you are one.
And as you said, you know, visitors coming to centres like this where they can interact with the birds and learn more about them is so important.
Exactly. We're an educational facility here, so do come and join us. You'll always be very welcome. Come and see some amazing birds fly. Come and watch what we do here. In just a few short weeks, we're going to have chicks being raised by their parents in our apiaries.
Very exciting. Charlie, thank you so much. Rav, back to you.
Now, you may remember last year, detectives and the family of missing Georgina Garsala appeared on the programme to appeal for